You are about to witness the last days of the F-4 Fighting Phantom before it flew off into the pages of American history as the most versatile multi-mission jet fighter. You'll meet the pilots and the ground crews that kept them flying, with cameras in the cockpit, the back seat, the travel pod, and the nose. You're about to take the ride of your life. We'll take you up to Mount Shasta, the Sierra, the Pacific Ocean, Mono Lake, and right down on the deck over Nevada's Black Rock Desert. You'll ride in the tanker while they refuel a formation of Phantoms and see how they did it from all the angles. You'll do a walk-around with veteran pilot Rick Vandam as he shows the features of the F-4 and what a pilot looked for when he pre-flighted the aircraft. A story so compelling, so real, the filming of Phantom was investigated by the Air Force. So hold on tight, all you bears, Wizzos, and Ewos, because no matter if you were a plane captain or the pilot, an airframe mechanic, or you worked on the flight line, it doesn't matter what color your shirt was on the flight deck, even if you worked on the assembly line. This is your story, because this was your airplane, the legend of America's most celebrated jet fighter, the story of the Phantom. Our story begins in 1953, when McDonnell Douglas first designed the airplane for the Navy. The early prototype had a straight wing and a stabilizer. It bore a striking resemblance to the A-4 Skyhawk line attack jet. It was designated the F-3H-G. There were no lift to the wingtips and no drooped horizontal stabilizer. The cockpit, it was single place. Over 1,000 of the original Phantoms were built for the Navy and were the first carrier-based jet fighters. That's why the redesigned Phantom was called the Phantom II. This second prototype had 2 cockpits, revised inlets, and a drooped tail. The wing was still flat, but that would be revised in the first prototype.
Now this is kind of the uniqueness of the F-4. We have a notch right here. We also have the wing bent up, and this is what we used to say about the F-4. They bent some up, they bent some down, they added some pieces, and they said, okay, it must fly now. But it's all part of the design. This helps the dihedral effect and to make the airplane much more stable in the various regimes of flight. And each little bend up, bend down notch, the notch particularly helps us in our high angle of attack. Gives us better airflow across the wing so we don't get early separation. We can control the wing.
And so it was on May 27, 1958. McDonnell Douglas rolled out the F-4H-1 Phantom for its maiden flight. It was to be piloted by their chief test pilot, Robert C. Little. Soon, high over St. Louis, the first of what eventually would be over 5,000 Phantoms took to the skies. The platform was designed to carry Sparrow air-to-air missiles. And when it came to bombs, the Phantom could lift and drop 22 500-pound bombs. That was 11,000 pounds of ordnance, plus fuel. Talk about thirsty. Whoa, those 2 J-79 GE engines consumed 2,500 gallons of JP4 fuel in just over an hour.
Afterburner is exactly like a blowtorch. It's probably never going to get recommended for the Fuel Saver Award for the year because we have a highly complex engine running through there, through the compressors and the turbines. We light the afterburner, we start pouring raw fuel into the tailpipe, lighting it off as a blowtorch, and we are not even able to read the fuel consumption in the cockpit, but they give us a rule of thumb that by lighting the afterburner, our fuel consumption goes up by 4 times, 4-fold, or a 400% increase in fuel consumption.
Wow.
If you took an airplane off exactly the way it's configured here with 17,000 pounds, took off, stayed low level in full afterburner, you'd have about 8 to 9 minutes worth of fuel.
That's it.
Before the airplane was bone dry. So we don't use it, we use it for takeoff and we use it when we fight.
Before the plane saw active duty service, it established a variety of class records. In a flight from Edwards Air Force Base in 1959, the prototype, codenamed Project Top Flight, soared to a new absolute altitude of 98,557 feet. Project High Jump established a whole series of time-to-climb altitude speed records. Sage Burner set a low-altitude speed record of over 900 miles per hour. 20 years later, that record still had not been broken. And Sky Burner, only the second F-4 prototype, set an absolute world speed record of over 1,600 miles per hour. The first Navy training squadron to fly the Phantom was VF-121 at NAS Miramar. But it wasn't long before the Air Force and the Marines were also flying the Phantom. Through rain-swollen skies over North Vietnam, F-4s out of Da Nang flew sortie after sortie against suspected enemy targets with 500-pound bomb loads. These aircraft came to be known as death rattlers.